Welcome to Sports Break. I'm your host, Max Brunke. Today, I am joined with Joe Collins. How you doing, Joe?
Doing pretty well.
Today, we are going to be previewing and reviewing the past and future NFL game weeks. Week 2 just passed. It was riddled with injuries, and we got some great games as well. So we're going to be going over a couple of those. The games on our list for the Week 2 review are Bengals versus Browns, which was the Thursday night game. I know Joe's eager to get into that one. Falcons-Cowboys. The Cowboys came back on the Falcons by a considerable amount, and I think it was 16 points. 16 unanswered?
There was 26-7 at one point, so it was actually 19. They were leading by 1 point. Actually led by 19 multiple times in the game, including 15.
Regardless, it's an amazing comeback, and props to them for keeping it in the game. Jacksonville Titans. Storyline of that one. Run game just wasn't happening. Usually Titans very reliant on the run game, but they trusted Tannehill and got the win. Chiefs Chargers. Chargers took the Chiefs to overtime. Big game. And Seahawks Patriots had a crazy finish. We'll get into that one. Then we'll get into notable injuries. There are a lot. Just a little sneak peek. And then we'll preview some games for the upcoming week. Tonight's game, Dolphins versus Jaguars. Don't know how that got Thursday Night Football, but it's fine. Rams versus Bills on Sunday, along with Washington versus Browns. Titans versus Vikings. Vikings got to get a win to stay in the playoff race. Steelers versus Texans. Texans are struggling offensively. Steelers are great defensively. We'll get into that one. Cowboys Seahawks. That should be a high-scoring one. Offenses are on fire. Same with Packers versus Saints. Drew Brees versus Aaron Rodgers is always a wonderful matchup. And then basically the game of the week, Chiefs versus Ravens, two of considerably the best teams in the NFL. Should be fun. So I'll let Joe kick it off with the Bengals versus Browns because the Browns is his team.
Yes, it was a pretty fun game. I mean, we were all glad, us Browns fans were all glad to see the offense finally do what they were supposed to do this entire time, run the ball and use the play action pass. And they did that, and they did a great job of that. They didn't make Baker Mayfield throw a ton of passes that he couldn't. They made him do what he's always been good at Oklahoma, which is roll out and then throw it. And he got a 42-yard touchdown pass to Odell Beckham Jr. in the second. We saw a lot of good decision-making by Baker Mayfield in that game. That was one of the first times in a while that we've seen him perform like he did his rookie season. And, people say, yes, it was against the Bengals, and the Bengals defense was not good that game. Missed so many tackles, but big story of that game was the two-headed monster running back of Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, who some call the best running back tandem in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, that running back room is just absolutely incredible. The least you can say about it is Nick Chubb is a wonderful starting running back, and it would be great to have him on your team alone. But with Kareem Hunt backing him up and getting in there when Nick Chubb has taken 3-4 carries in a row and needs a little break, or to even rotate Kareem Hunt in and out as a receiving back to add a little extra to the offense and give Baker another option. I saw a lot of positives from the Browns. And I, as you mentioned, Bengals defense wasn't that great, but I agree it's not justification for the way that Browns team played. I thought they offensively looked very sound. But it's not all gloomy for the Bengals either.
There was one thing that I wanted to add. People are talking about this. The play of the Browns' offensive line in that game was outstanding. I mean, if you watched the game film closely, Jedrick Brown, their rookie, who had played right tackle his entire career at Alabama, was moved to left tackle and got help from the Joe Thomas. And if you saw his pass pro, his backstepping to get to his position to be able to block was outstanding. No sacks let up that entire game. Only 2 against a very good Baltimore defense the week before. So one of the concerns last year for the Browns was their offensive line. That hasn't been a problem through 2 weeks.
No, you're absolutely correct from that perspective. Jedrick Brown, after he was drafted, I watched some highlights, and I was pretty excited to watch him in the league. I thought he'd be a dominant player, and it looks like the Browns have made their second good draft pick in 3 years? When was Myles Garrett drafted? 2017.
Myles Garrett was drafted 2017. Mayfield and Denzel Ward were 2018. 2019, they didn't have a first rounder because they traded for Odell Beckham. And 2020, they had Jedrick Brown as their first round pick.
Yeah, I mean, as a neutral fan with an interesting perspective, I would honestly say that the laughing stock of the Browns, they just need to put it together now, and they're not the same team that they've been talked about since 1996. The team that's had 20 plus quarterbacks start games,
Which was weird. Their most successful season was their third year as the expansion team. So at one point, it looked like they were actually heading in the right direction because they had made the playoffs just 3 years into their expansion, and then everything went down. Didn't down on from that, and then here they are.
Yep. Even as a Browns hater, it's nice to see them excel in an area that isn't losing. But it's not all dark and gloomy for Bengals fans losing the game and starting off the season 0-2. Because the optimistic side is I think the Bengals got their guy.
Yeah,
Joe Burrow has been absolutely incredible through 2 weeks. The first game was not his fault. They should have won. And this game, I thought he played exceptionally well, having to throw the ball 61 times. Burrow has really been incredible this entire season. And I think if that team can put it together, he has the offensive weapons. He has the wide receivers. Joe Mixon, for some reason, is looked at as a bad running back, and he's not. He can be explosive, but he just needs to get an O-line. The O-line's going to get Joe Burrow killed. It's not helping Joe Mixon, and I think that really is the story for the Bengals. And that's why I was worried about Joe going to the Bengals in general, is because that O-line breaks down left and right.
Yeah, and another thing, Bengals fans shouldn't be worried about that first game. That Chargers defense just held the Chiefs, the defending Super Bowl champions, to 23 points. And really, they held them to 9 points total through most of that game. So that Chargers defense is very good. And Joe Burrow did a fantastic job against them, in my opinion. He did have the one interception, but Patrick Mahomes had an interception, too, against the Chargers.
Yeah, I said before this season I wouldn't honestly be surprised if the Bengals could pull something out and make the playoffs somehow.
Yeah.
But after seeing the O-line, that's not possible. However, this is still a really promising team, and it just makes the AFC North even stronger. It's a really scary division.
You got the Ravens and you got the Steelers, two teams that are very good at defense. There was one play in the game where it was on the strip sack. He took a really hard hit from one of the Browns' offensive linemen. He took a lot of hits these first 2 weeks, and if you're playing 6 games against 4 of those games are against 2 of the best defenses in the NFL, you got to be worried if you're a Bengals fan about Joe Burrow's health, because that offensive line is not going to really be able to do much against the pass rush of T.J. Watt or the run defense of Calais Campbell. There's so many defensive players in that division.
Yeah, and Myles Garrett had a great game as well, and he was the one mostly putting pressure on Joe. And really, the Bengals aren't going to go up against DNs that are elite like Myles Garrett and T.J. Watt when he's rushing, and just all these different teams in the division that you would compare them to. I think they can still win some games. But let's move on to probably the game of the week. I mean, with this unbelievable 19-point comeback, Falcons versus Cowboys. I've been singing Dak Prescott's praises for years. Since he came into the league from Mississippi State, I thought he was an excellent quarterback at Mississippi State, and I thought a 4th-round draft for him was absolutely criminal. He throws for 450. He has 4 total touchdowns. I will mention that 3 of them were rushing for 18 yards, but it proves one thing. Say what you want about this guy. Say that he's not good, but he wants to win, and he wants to prove that even though he's not worth it, he's worth $40 million a year.
Yeah, that's what I believe too. The Cowboys, they got down pretty early in that game. They were down by 19 on multiple points in that game, but Dak led them on an amazing comeback. And while we're talking so much praise to that Dallas Cowboys, I cannot get over just the downfall of what happened to the Atlanta Falcons. It is just absolutely, this team already has a rep for blowing big leads. They already blew the 28-3 lead in the Super Bowl a few years ago, and then this happens against the Cowboys. Dan Quinn needs to leave. He's, in my opinion, he's keeping this team down. I mean, their defense is just absolutely they have a starting rookie cornerback, and then that's basically their entire defense. There's no playmakers whatsoever. I mean, don't get me wrong, they have a great offense. I mean, Matt Ryan is second in the league in passing right now. I mean, he's always going to be great. And Calvin Ridley, he's having a great year so far. 234, second in the league in receiving yards, only behind Stephon Diggs. They're great on offense, and you got what's his name, Todd Gurley now. But and
yeah, I was just about to say, think about the offensive names: Matt Ryan, legend, Hall of Fame candidate quarterback. I struggle to call him a Hall of Famer yet, but Matt Ryan, Todd Gurley, Calvin Ridley, Julio Jones. I mean, think that offense is on paper stacked, and they should be putting up 30 points a game. But I mean, like you said, that defense they get torn apart. They don't look like they have it together on offense, and I agree with you. And maybe Dan Quinn does need to leave. But specifically in my notes, I have Falcons prove that the Super Bowl loss to the Patriots, where they got come back on, was the beginning of a franchise crisis.
Yeah, and two things I will add. The Cowboys had 3 players over 85 receiving yards. CeeDee Lamb had 106, Amari Cooper had 100, and then Dalton Schultz had 9 for 88 and a touchdown. But now we will get to the biggest part of that game, was the just awful onside kick that happened with under 2 minutes to go. I mean, I honestly, I have no words for that. That literally, I mean, did they think that they were kicking the ball? Because they can literally fall on the ball before 10 yards and the game is over.
I'm confused if the hands team just didn't want to win the game, because they didn't even look like they wanted to go for the ball. And that's what baffled me. It's not the fact that they didn't recover the onside kick. It's the fact that they literally didn't look like they were trying.
Yeah, the fact that they thought that it had to go 10 yards before they could touch it. Now, that's only for the kicking team. The hands team, you can fall on at any time, and then the kicking team gets a penalty, and then you get the ball. Like, did they not practice their onside kick recovery this entire offseason? I mean, that's literally the one thing that you have to know, is to recover the ball no matter where it is on the field.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, it's a total special teams breakdown. And but yeah, there are a lot of positives in the game. Again, Cowboys wide receiver room is just absolutely incredible. It really is. CeeDee Lamb is going to turn out to be a star. Amari Cooper he looks great. Having Dak as their quarterback, they can do big things, but can they put it together? Really, it's up to Mike McCarthy and Dak to see if they can keep it together for 16 games.
Yeah, their defense still is pretty young, especially in the secondary, but they'll only improve with time. So, good for the Cowboys to get the win, because it's much better to go 1-1 than start 0-2, especially with a team like the Cowboys.
Yeah, that division is garbage, so it's not hard to make the playoffs in that division. You can go 7-9.
Football, first in the league, first in the division.
Yep. All right, we'll move on to the Jacksonville Jags versus the Titans, which was I feel like a closet Tennessee fan, because I just kind of love the way that they play. They don't dominate. Vrabel just kind of outcoaches them, and they figure it out as they go. Tannehill only threw 24 passes, 18 completions, 239 yards, and 4 touchdowns, which your yards to touchdown ratio is a bit off, buddy. But I think, like I said earlier, the story of the game, Derrick Henry, 25 carries, 84 yards. No touchdown.
3.4 yards per carry. Before we get into the Titans win, we got to give so much credit to Gardner Minshew in that game. 339 and 3 touchdowns. Did have 2 interceptions, but he is not letting this team tank. Like, you could tell at the start of the year what the Jaguars' mission this year was to tank and get the first pick. Gardner Minshew is not letting them do that. And after getting a week 1 against a divisional opponent, now they come back and they lose on the road by a field goal. So you can see Gardner Minshew.
Gardner Minshew has always seemed like the type of player that he just wants to win. He doesn't care about your tanking. It's been that way since Washington State, I mean, look at what he did with that team.
Yeah.
They were top ranked for the first time in ages because of his leadership, because of the way he played. And I think and I really do think that at some point he's going to shine in this league with the generation of the Joe Burrows and the Tuas and the, Josh Allen's. When they're all mid-30s, they're going to be starting for teams. I think Gardner's going to be right with them. Yeah, I wouldn't count him out.
Yeah, there's two things that I got on this Jags team. First off, James Robinson, an undrafted player from this year, 16 carries, 102 yards, and a touchdown. And then think about Gardner. Listen to these people he's throwing to. DJ Chark, he's pretty good. Keelan Cole, Chris Conley, James O'Shea. Any of these names ring a bell to you?
No, yeah. I mean, what's funny is you look at the Jags team, and I think most casual fans would be like, huh? Like, yeah. Who do they have? I think they'd be like, oh, I know that Chark guy.
Yeah, I know Gardner Minshew because of all the memes, but I mean,
yeah,
but
this offense, they have a lot to prove, and I think that might be the storyline for the Jaguars is we're not tanking.
Yeah,
the ownership's like, we're gonna go get a first round pick. No, we're not tanking. Gardner doesn't want to lose. This team doesn't want to lose.
After seeing them compete, there's worse teams than the Jaguars, and especially because the Jaguars may not have a talent, but they compete hard. They are gritty. Even though you won't know who they are, they compete just as hard as anybody else, and that's why they're 1-1. And if they win tonight, they're 2-1. They didn't go 2-1 last year to start the season. They went 0-3 to start and then got their first win.
Tonight should be a win for the Jags, but we'll get into that later. Flipping over to the other side, I have a question for you regarding Ryan Tannehill.
Yes.
What even is Ryan Tannehill? I don't understand. He's like good.
He does
only in this system.
Yeah, he will do what you tell him to do. Like, he's one of those people that's fine with, he's fine if he has to throw 40 passes or if he has to throw 10 passes. Like, he'll do that. And you saw that, like, he was the least amount of passing yards by a quarterback in 2 playoff wins ever. I think he had against the Ravens, I think against the Patriots, he had 75, and then against the Ravens, he had like 81. So that's basically 150 passing yards through 2 playoff games. The reason why that they were winning those games was because of Derrick Henry. But now it seems like through these first 2 games, he threw almost 40 passes in the first game, and then he threw 24 this past Sunday. So he'll do anything that the Titans need him to do, and coaches love that, especially someone like Mike Vrabel, who's he's a chess match type of coach.
Follow-up question then. Do you think that Ryan Tannehill's success is due to his talent or due to the coaching?
I think it's due to the coaching. I mean, I do think he is a talented player. I mean, who would have thought the 2012 class, the last player that would be in the league would be Ryan Tannehill? The first 4 quarterbacks, so this was a weird class. So it was Andrew Luck was first. Then it was Robert Griffin III, Brandon Wheaton, and then Ryan Tannehill were the 4 quarterbacks taken in the first round. Ryan Tannehill is the only one that's still in the league.
Man, I forgot about Brandon Wheaton.
Yeah,
quarterback.
I don't know if he's in the league or not. I mean, Colt McCoy is still in the league, so I mean.
He is. Oh my goodness.
He's the backup. He's the backup for. Well, actually, now he's the 3rd stringer for Washington.
Yeah, we'll actually be getting into that Washington team, which I'm excited about. That's why I'm bringing it up now. But
Browns are playing them.
Yeah, I agree with you. Tannehill's talent. He obviously is a very talented player. He wouldn't be putting up the numbers he is if he wasn't. But I think Vrabel he deserves all the credit. Not all the credit. I think Vrabel deserves the credit for the Titans' success because he's taken this franchise to a whole nother level the past year. I mean, what he's doing there is really incredible.
Yeah.
All right. Chargers take the Chiefs to overtime. What an interesting game this was.
Game.
Mahomes struggled. I mean, he really did. They didn't have a running game, and Mahomes struggled. And that's why this was a low-scoring game, first of all, because you would expect any game the Chiefs are involved in to be putting up 30-plus points,
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Give credit to the San Diego defense. I mean, they got a lot better they're still a very good defensive team. They added Kenneth Murray, a linebacker in the draft. He did very well in that game. You got Chris Harris and you got Jason Verrett as your two cornerbacks, two very good corners. They're a very good defensive team, and you can't talk about the game without talking about Justin Herbert coming in. What a game he had in his first.
I thought he was a very good quarterback at Oregon. I was questionable at his ability to succeed in the NFL, but I think this past week definitely proved that he is capable of it. Yeah. I mean, he walked into that game and he said, "Okay, this is the circumstance. I'm gonna take it over and I'm gonna keep us in this." And he did exactly that with a lot of help from his.
He had some good throws, especially the one to Keenan Allen in the I think it was the third quarter. He made a great throw into a tight window through almost three different defenders and got it into Keenan Allen. And a lot of people, going into the draft, there was always the talk about Joe Burrow and Tua as the two quarterbacks, and Justin Herbert kind of got overlooked. He was kind of like a shadow. He was living in their shadow. Kind of like he's good, but he's not these two. So it's like he performed really well considering he was playing against the defending Super Bowl champs.
Yeah, and if I remember correctly, the only way people would put Justin Herbert in the Miami draft slot instead of Tua was because Miami may be concerned about Tua's injury history. So I know he was technically considered to be a top 5 pick, and I think in any other draft class where it doesn't have Joe Burrow and Tua, two of really the greatest quarterbacks that we've seen in college and in recent history in terms of numbers and performance, Justin Herbert probably would have been first taken. But given the circumstances, he goes to the Chargers, who ended up needing a quarterback. I think it's a perfect fit for him. It's no problem to keep starting Tyron Taylor because I think that he's also in form. But Justin Herbert, he definitely has a future in San Diego. I just realized you said San Diego earlier, didn't you? They're the LA Chargers now. Well, the LA Chargers. I think he has a future in LA. Storyline for this one: Harrison Butker don't miss, man. He don't miss.
58-yarder to win the game. He was 3 for 3 on field goals.
He lines up for 53. He kicks it, makes it. Flag brings it back. Right. He lines up for 58. Kicks it, makes it. From my perspective, there's another flag. And when I'm watching this on TV, once they cut to Butker's hero cam, he's already walking back, and I'm like, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. He's just drilled one from 53, drilled one from 58, and he's like, you know what? Screw you. I'll do it again. I'll drill one from 63. I don't care. But then it ended up being just an icing by the Chargers, and it didn't matter. He went on to win the game for him.
Yeah. For all the talk the kickers have gotten this season about missing, he didn't, and he had 3 very, very long field goals to really keep them in that game and then win them that game in overtime.
Good win for the Chiefs. They stay undefeated so far, and probably the craziest finish outside of Chargers and Chiefs. Actually, we had 3 great finishes with Falcons, Cowboys, Chargers, Chiefs, Seahawks, Patriots.
Yes. 3 very good games that week.
Yes, yeah. It was really just a stacked week of great watchable games. But storyline for me, it's not the Patriots' bad play calling on the last play, even though that was a big factor. Seahawks offense is they're really good. Russell Wilson is just really good.
Oh, totally. I'll get to a point about the last play of the game that some people may have missed. Russell, as you said, Russell Wilson, 5 touchdown passes to 5 different people. Like that is insane. That he can make any player on the field a better player. That's the best thing about Russell Wilson is he can make anyone around him better. And that's why the Seahawks team is where they are right now is because of him.
Yeah, I think Pete Carroll's a great coach. He's proven himself. He's a legend. He's a Hall of Famer. All that, and with a quarterback like Russell Wilson playing under him, it's probably a privilege to him. I bet he absolutely loves it, and he's got a great great running back in Chris Carson, And as you said, offensive weapons for days. They also have a good defense. What else can you say about the Seahawks team other than they're absolutely they're a Super Bowl contender, really. They can challenge the Chiefs. The West looks really good. In fact, Packers, Chiefs, or not West, NFC. Packers, Chiefs. Chiefs are AFC. Packers, Seahawks. This is a great season. It's a great season. That's really the main thing. But so to that last play, is it awful play calling or bad blocking? That's my question to you.
No, actually, it is great defense on that play. What people didn't see is number 42, Delano Hill. He goes in the play. He hits the lead blocker and knocks him down. And now they're both on top of each other, and that takes away Cam Newton's initial rushing lane. So now Cam has to switch and try to dive over, and then they stop him. That play right there was absolutely brilliant by Delano Hill. And if you watch the film, watch closely that play. It'll be right when the lead blockers, Cam Swan was lead blocker. He hits right in his knees, and then he falls down on top of him. And that play right there, that won the game for the Seahawks, because then they had great penetration at first. They pushed the line up, and then that's how they were able to stop them going over top.
I like that answer because I thought the Seahawks defense on that play looked like they had something to prove, that they wanted to win this game right now. They weren't going to let Cam Newton walk into their end zone in the last 2 seconds and take this thing from them. And that's probably going to be the biggest momentum shift for the Seahawks defense of the year. I mean, they gave up 30 points. Mm-hmm. You got to look at that. You got to say, okay, that's awful, but we have this positive. We stopped them on the goal line at the end of the game to win. And I think the Seahawks overall, they just have a lot of positives, and so do the Patriots. I think they're a good team, and Cam Newton is a good quarterback. They put up 30 points against that defense. I mean, how can they not be?
They still have the greatest head coach of all time. He's still going to be there. He's still going to make any of those players competitive. It was not always going to be about Tom Brady. And Buccaneers, they're 1-1. They got to win this week, but it was against the Panthers, so nothing really special. It was kind of a lot closer than it should have been, really.
Yeah, and I think that one of the reasons, there's many, but one of the reasons that Cam fits so well in New England is because of Bill Belichick. They both have this mindset of, I'm going to work my ass off and we're going to win games. Like I'm assuming that's what Bill thinks because he's just so good. But it's definitely what Cam thinks because he's so vocal about it. Alrighty, into notable injuries, and my God, were there a lot? It's hard to even start off with somebody because there are so many important players on here. But what's your most notable injury?
Well, obviously Saquon, because that pretty much makes the Giants the first overall pick. I mean, and they're probably, if they're 1 or 2, I'd take Jamar Chase. I mean, they need a wide receiver or something. They need so many different things. You could see them maybe trade down to maybe get Micah Parsons at a Penn State defensive end. You know, they could go defense. Of all these injuries, I mean, obviously look at the 49ers. You lose Jimmy G for probably this week. You lose Nick Bosa for the whole year. That defense is still going to be good even without Nick Bosa because, I mean, they still have Eric Armstead. They're always going to be good in competing.
Yeah, but you make a good point about the 49ers. I mean, Jimmy G, Nick Bosa, George Kittle, they're 3 best players, hands down. They're all gone. How do you adapt if you're a coach? You're looking at that situation. You're going, oh my God, how did this happen?
I'm kind of scared though and Deebo Samuel too.
Deebo will be back soon. He was placed on IR at the beginning of the season. But they expected him to start week 2, which was odd. So they just determined that was a precautionary measure, and they're going to give him some extra time to heal. But he will be back, I believe, week 4.
Yeah, I mean, still McKinnon did a very good job in the backfield, getting 53 yards running on a 3rd and 31. Jesus, Jets, what are you doing on that play?
Yeah, I mean that's just. I think that's just the Jets just breaking down. I don't even know what to say about that team. The Jets and the Giants go in the same category for me. Here's the hot take, by the way. They both have awful quarterbacks. Sam Darnold sucks. So does Daniel Jones. You can't convince me otherwise.
I feel Sam Darnold, he could be good, but I mean, there is no weapons whatsoever on that Jets offense.
None. They picked up Perriman to try and help out, but he's actually injured as well.
Yeah,
he was injured last week.
This team does not have any playmakers. Le'Veon Bell's out too.
That's been known though, right? That when did that injury occur? I believe it was practice before the season started.
Not sure. But anyway, the 49ers, they play the Giants this week. Back-to-back games at MetLife. So that's pretty interesting, actually. They'll be playing in the Injury Bowl against the Giants because both of these teams have pretty much an entire to add insult to injury, the 49ers MRI truck broke down while it was driving. So if that isn't an oxymoron for the 49ers, I don't know what is.
Even their injury systems are getting injured.
Yeah.
CMC, can't go without mentioning him. He'll be out for 4 to 6 weeks with a high ankle sprain. There goes the entire Panthers team. The entire Panthers team.
Teddy Bridgewater, he's done pretty well through the first 2 weeks. I'll give him credit. I mean, I didn't expect much of that of them anyway, even with McCaffrey. But I mean, now I don't expect anything with them. I mean, they're a high-scoring team when he's on the field, but when he's off the field, I mean, who's their other running back?
Yeah, I just don't see that team being any higher than last place, in all honesty. If I were to look at every single NFL team and pick somebody, pick a team that was most likely to end up in last place, it would have to be the Panthers. Without CMC now for 4 to 6 weeks, all of those are probably guaranteed losses unless Teddy Bridgewater goes crazy.
Who was the third pick in your fantasy league?
The third pick in my fantasy league I think it was Michael Thomas.
Oh, jeez. Well, I think he may be back soon, but I mean, like, if you were the third or the fourth person picking, then you kind of lucked out a lot because obviously the first pick would have probably been either Saquon or Christian McCaffrey. Our second pick would have been either one of those two. Third pick would have been Michael Thomas. Fourth? If I was fourth, I'd honestly go with Aaron Jones from Green Bay. I mean, he's having a great year. Or Lamar. I mean, obviously.
I don't understand Aaron Jones all that much because he's a great player, but he just doesn't look like one. Does that make sense?
I mean, if you follow him, he's a bodybuilder. Like he has fitness programs and stuff like that. So I mean, he's kind of like a fit guru that became a football player.
Makes sense. Yeah. We're straying a little off topic, so let's get back on track with I don't know how to say this other than my favorite injury of this week. Tyron Taylor was stabbed by the team doctor trying to administer pain relief. He accidentally I think it worked out for the best. Not for Tyrod Taylor's career, though, because it's probably Justin Herbert time now. But It worked out for the best because Justin Herbert's probably going to just take control of the team. And is he a better quarterback than Tyrod Taylor? We're not sure yet because Tyrod Taylor has NFL experience, but he showed that he can step up at least.
Yeah. I'm not sure about what Dr. Evil was doing as the Chargers team doctor, but it seems like Tyron Taylor. That's a weird injury, honestly. I don't know how you mess that up, especially when you're trained to be at that high level position. But Tyron Taylor, these last few years, 2 times now he's been replaced by a rookie quarterback.
Yeah, that's very true. That's 2 years in a row now. Very unfortunate for him, but yeah, you got to stay healthy. This one's not his fault, but it's just really unfortunate seeing players like this that maybe they could have been outstanding if they just stayed healthy. But moving on to the other injuries, I seem to be the only one to care about this one. But Drew Locke with the shoulder injury, he'll be out Sunday. I'm a fan of him. I think he's.
I am too. I like him too. He's a good quarterback. He's got
good weapons as well.
Lost their one Cortland Sutton though for the whole year with an ACL. That's going to hurt them though.
Yeah, that's also a major notable injury. But Jerry Judy, who was hurt during the game, good news. Kind of straying off the pattern of the week, but he came back in. He was fine. And I can't remember what they were checking out. I think it was his shoulder as well, but they didn't see anything wrong, and he went back in the game.
Yeah, I think the loss of Drew Locke hurts more than Sutton because they already have great playmakers. They have Judy, they have KJ Hamler too. They have obviously Phillip Lindsay, the only undrafted player ever to have 1,000-yard rushing seasons his first 2 years. They have Melvin Gordon. They have Noah Fant at tight end. They're still a very good offensive team. It's the loss of Drew Locke that's going to hurt the most.
The loss of Drew Locke will hurt them because he is a great quarterback. However, I do want to mention that Jeff Driscoll is probably one of the best backups you can get. He proved that at Detroit last year. He went in for Stafford when Stafford got injured, and he didn't play bad at all. I remember watching him Thanksgiving Day, and he looked okay. He can lead a team. So I wouldn't count the Broncos out just yet, just because they lost Drew Locke, and he will be back pretty soon. He's out at least Sunday, but I think I heard the timeline was 3 to 5 weeks is like an early projection.
I think so. That's what I heard too. 3 to 5 weeks would be the right time for him.
Other season-ending injuries: Browns lose their tight end CJ Uzomah, who tore his Achilles. Sorry?
That's the Bengals.
Who did I say?
I don't know. Some guy on the Bengals.
I meant Bengals. But anyways, he tore his Achilles. He'll be out for the season. Malik Hooker, safety for Indianapolis, he'll be out for the season as well. Paris Campbell, wide receiver, who had a really good week 1. He looked like he was going to be a pretty elite weapon for Phillip Rivers and this new look Indianapolis Colts offense, but he will be out for a considerable amount of time with the sprained MCL and PCL. There's no timeline for him just yet. And really the last notable injury, J.J. Watt, he's questionable for Sunday, but obviously he's a huge part of that Texans defense.
I do not want to see him get hurt anymore. It's been really rough for him. He's had 2 season-ending injuries the last few years. We feel really bad because he was, back when he wasn't injured, he was literally the best defensive player in football. There was no doubt about that.
Yeah, he had a lot of years straight where he was just outstanding, injury-free. And then the past couple of years, he's been injury-riddled. I'll never forget, kind of off topic, but I'll never forget a picture that I saw once of J.J. Watt's thigh after a game. And it was entirely purple. The whole thing was bruised. But it just proves how strong these guys are and how tough they really are.
Yeah. Do not watch Alex Smith's documentary about his injury. My God, that is the worst imagery I've ever seen. I literally don't know how anyone's leg could ever look like that.
Yeah, I'm not very squeamish, but when it comes to bone breaks, Alex Smith's injury, I can't watch that. Not good. All right, moving on to the preview for the
Here we go.
Game week 3 games. First tonight, Thursday Night Football. Again, don't know how this one got it, but Dolphins Jags. I'm pretty excited for this. Obviously, I love Minshew. I love watching him. He loves to control games, but also without Tua, is Fitzmagic back, Joe? Are they back?
I don't think he's going to be back for that much longer. I really think I feel like if there's any game that Tua would go into, it'd be this game because it's the Jaguars defense and it's kind of it's a lower level defense for him to start out against. That's where I think he would start if he was ever going to play. But you never know. He could come off the bench, but I think they're trying to make sure that he's completely healed by the time that he's ready to go.
Yeah, and I think that's a good move because you really don't want to mess with that injury. You have I struggle to call Ryan Fitzpatrick good. but I mean, he's stepped up for teams in the past. He can do it again. I would say rely on him for at least half the season, and then you can start testing out Tua. But I have a 24-10 win for the Jaguars tonight.
I'm going to go a little bit higher. I'm saying more of a 28-23 type game.
Interesting with the 23. It looked like a potential scorigami.
No, there's been a 28-23. There was last year.
It's always interesting.
We almost had one. We had the Falcons and if the Falcons recovered that onside kick, there would have been a scorigami. But the fact that the Cowboys kicked it, there was only one other scorigami that happened. The other time that it was 40-39 in a game. So we had a
so sad. In this house, we root for scorigami.
Yes, we have to.
Moving on to the Rams versus Bills. This game excites me because I will forever sing Josh Allen's praises. I think he is an awesome, awesome quarterback. He can get it done on the ground too, which when you look at him, you're like, he can. And I think that's really cool. He has had an amazing junior season so far. You can say what you want about the teams they've played, but he has had a really good junior season.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Rams on this one in this game. The reason why is the Rams have been playing very well through the first 2 weeks, especially on offense. It's going to be a little bit tougher, but I think they have on defense the answers to the Bills. They have obviously Aaron Donald, who's the best defensive lineman in the NFL. They have Jalen Ramsey at corner, and he'll be on Stephon Diggs the entire game. That should be a very interesting matchup between those two. On offense, it'll be a little bit tougher, especially with, I don't know if Tre'Davious White will be on Woods or Cooper Kupp. It'll be interesting to see who he's on. It'll be very low scoring, I think, in my opinion. But I think the Rams, they already just played a game in Philly. They aren't really going too far to Buffalo. I think this is a chance for the Rams to take this one.
I'm going to have to respectfully disagree. I think that the Rams got their offense figured out last week. Their first game was 2017 against the Eagles, it's a bit questionable. But they put up, I think, 37 points last week. So they got the offense figured out. Goff looked okay. Running game looked okay as well for, losing a star, technically losing a star. You can put it in quotes if you want, if you don't think he's good anymore. But
this isn't
Sorry, go ahead.
This isn't a team we're probably going to talk about, but if the Eagles lose this week to Cincinnati, I think Carson Wentz is done for this, as the starter in Philly.
I would also agree with you. I think fans are already fed up enough with him. And again, anything can happen in that division. Eagles could really go and start the season 0-3 and then make the playoffs if the Cowboys were to not do anything. But anyways, back to the Rams Bills. I have a 31-24 Buffalo win because I believe that Buffalo's offensive line is good enough to hold a rush. I'm a little worried about Aaron Donald because every time you go up against somebody of that caliber, it's incredibly tough. But if they can stop him, I think it'll be really hard for the Rams to win this game.
Yeah. I'm going to go 20-17 for the Rams.
Low scoring, like you said. I like to see it. Here's another one you're going to be interested in. I'm interested in it for opposite reasons, but Washington versus Browns. My current take on Washington is that Haskins has all the abilities to be a great NFL quarterback. I don't think he has the necessary quarterback coaching he needs, and he doesn't quite yet have the weapons they need. But the OSU trio of Haskins, McLaurin, and Chase Young, they've been great through 2 weeks.
The football team, the Washington football team, lead the NFL in sacks with 11 through 2 weeks. So when you talk about Chase Young and then also Ryan Kerrigan, they have a great defensive line. So the matchup of the football team's D-line against the Browns' offensive line. That should be interesting. The thing with the Redskins is they're still far off, especially on offense. I mean, they have Terry McLaurin's their only playmaker, but other than him, I couldn't tell you a single person on the Redskins offense besides Dwayne Haskins.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And before I give you my take on the Browns, I just want to throw up there that a lot of people are probably going to point to the Cardinals' loss for Washington as like a bad loss because the Cardinals haven't been great in recent years. But I just want to mention that team is way better than people give credit for them.
I mean,
I think Kyler Murray is a great quarterback.
He's been great. I mean, he's fun to watch. That's a fun team to watch.
I mean, you want to talk about explosive offensive players. It doesn't really get much better than Kyler Murray. He can throw the ball. He's electric on the ground.
Oh, his rushing rounds this week were just – I mean, he was dancing around people. It was really fun.
Yeah, I mean, he looked really good. He can throw the ball, and that helps when you have weapons like DeAndre Hopkins, who they just added in the offseason. But on to the Browns. I think this is Baker's chance to really show that he is a top caliber quarterback. If he can put up a good amount of yards on this Washington defense. And in fact, I think he's going to do just that. And I think I have a blowout win for the Browns, actually. It's 38-17.
Really? I think I said 34-20 would be the score. The Browns are getting back Greedy Williams and Mac Wilson on defense, which is very good for Browns fans to hear because they are missing a lot of defensive players. So hopefully those two being added back will help. It's going to be tough for Washington's offense to really do anything because of the defensive line of the Browns, especially with Myles Garrett. They don't have Trent Williams anymore on their offensive line. It's going to be tough for the Redskins to really do a lot of good blocking against them. So it'll be hopefully it'll be a tough day for Dwayne Haskins and the Redskins offense. I expect the Browns to continue running the ball, but if they have to throw it, I mean, the Redskins.
Just a little hot take. I'll have the Browns for leading in sacks in week 3 as well because I think that Myles Garrett's probably going to get 4.5 on Haskins this week.
Another crazy thing, if the Browns win this game, it'll be the first time they've had a winning record since 2014.
Really? That is incredibly interesting. I think that speaks more to bad starts than bad finishes, really.
Mm-hmm.
But moving on to an interesting game, Titans versus Vikings. The real reason I wanted to talk about this is because the Vikings go on to lose this game. They'll drop to 0-3. And the last time an 0-3 team made the playoffs was 1998. And my question to you is, say they lose this game, because I'll give my prediction now. I have them losing 28-14 to Tennessee. They're just going to outcoach them. Should the Vikings drop to 0-3, can they break the 22-year curse, and somehow squeeze out a playoff berth?
I definitely think that they could, but the loss against the Colts was not a game that they should have lost, in my opinion. I mean, the Colts had just lost to the Jaguars, and then you get blown out by them. So I think it was 28-10 or something? Was that the score?
Yeah. Something 28-11, something weird.
The Vikings dropped to 0-3. I don't expect them to change much. I mean, I didn't have them making the playoffs originally. So I mean, they're not really. Dalvin Cook is good, but I mean, the loss of Stephon Diggs really hurts, and that defense is really, really inexperienced, especially at secondary.
Yeah, I agree with all your points. I think the Vikings defense is struggling right now. I didn't originally have them in my playoff race either. I had them in the bubble, but for me, they weren't making it. I don't think they'll make it now. Not only is coming back from 0-3 really hard, but it's a big momentum drop, and to shift that again, you need a couple of big wins, and I just don't know if Minnesota can do it right now.
Okay.
And moving on to my team. Big Ben, healthy, and weapons now. Juju, Johnson, they all look great. you got a room that could stun teams at times in James Conner and Benny Snell. I think there's positives for this team. Probably one of the best defenses as well. Adding Minka Fitzpatrick last year was a big boost. A lot of people talk about that a first-round pick, but I think that it paid off very well. What Ravens need to do, struggled against the top-rated Ravens defense last week. They really need to elevate their run game to expose the Steelers defense.
Yeah. This was a game that I was looking at. If Deshaun Watson and the Texans lose, they drop to 0-3, and that's not a position that they want to be in. They already had 2 games. It's unfortunate for them because they've already had 2 games against literally the 2 best teams in the AFC. They had the Chiefs week 1 and then they had Ravens last week, and they're going against probably one of the top 2 defenses in the AFC too. So it's 3 really, really tough games to start. And I think a lot of their fans were hoping that they go 1-2 at least. So if they lose this game, it's going to be not so great. But I don't see how the Texans are going to be able to. I don't trust their defense that much. I don't really think that they're. I don't really think that they're at that level yet. They don't have Jadeveon Clowney anymore. They don't really have any playmakers on the defensive side of the ball, and that offensive line is not going to help Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, I think the offseason was full of questions for the front office and the coaching staff of the Houston Texans, and it's really been showing through the first 3 weeks, or first 2 weeks. But like you said, I think if there was a respectable 0-3, it's probably them, because Ravens, Chiefs, Steelers would not be a bad 0-3. But I actually have this game pretty tight. I went 26-24. I went with 26 because the Steelers, for some reason, have scored 26 points in their first 2 weeks. I don't know how that's possible, but I think they'll keep the trend going, score 26 again.
Yeah, with the Texans, every day that Bill O'Brien is still their GM is every day that they're not going to be better. This guy is just a travesty to the city of Houston.
Yeah, I agree. Very interesting situation developing in Houston. It doesn't look like it's going to get any better anytime soon. You got a score for me?
I got a score? Yes, I'm going to go 23-17.
23-17. Steelers?
Yes. Yeah, I think the Steelers.
All right, moving on to actually another exciting game of powerful offenses. Cowboys versus Seahawks. Seahawks are in form, on fire. Russ is on fire. Dak's coming off a big comeback victory. I don't see how this game couldn't be exciting.
Yeah. Besides the last game on Monday night, I think this is my probably favorite game of the week. Because you have 2 very good quarterbacks coming in this game of 2 high-powered offenses. We could be in for a high-scoring game. I'm looking at somewhere like 35-31 was around where I was going. It seems like it could be that kind of game. And I have is it in Seattle or is it in Dallas?
I'm actually not 100% sure. Let me take a look. But while I'm taking a look at that, I'll give you mine. I have 38-35. So we're pretty much on the same wavelength there. 2 powerful offenses, not bad defenses, but I don't really think that matters, because when you have weapons, when you have Dak Prescott and Russell Wilson at quarterback, along with the wide receivers, Tyler Lockett, CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup. All of these wide receivers they're just excellent. Seahawks are at home. So what does that mean? You're going to go with the Seahawks victory?
Yes. Seahawks 35-31.
Just a quick note, I think the Seahawks stadium is probably one of my favorites in the NFL. Absolutely beautiful. I'd love to play a game there someday.
Can you imagine if some of these stadiums had full fans for these games? The 12th man in Seattle, if they would have been full capacity at that goal line stop, they would have been going crazy.
Yeah, and I can't wait for fans to be back, because it's going to be such a reunion. I think morale is going to be so high. It's going to be a great day. But for now, we deal with what we have, and we move on to the Packers versus the Saints, which is another great game on this slate.
Yeah, obviously we got Rodgers versus Breeze. I mean, that's the quarterback guru's dream to see these two play. Or one other matchup would be kind of better, I guess. But I honestly think the Packers are going to go in and win this game.
I think the Packers have all the weapons to win this game. I believe Devontae Adams is questionable at the moment. It looks like he's going to play. I don't think that matters anyways, because the Saints need a win, and I don't think they're happy with last week's loss, and they want to bounce back, and they want to prove that they can beat good teams. And what better way to do it than beating an NFC competitor? They'll run away with the win 31-28.
Yeah, I say the Packers win this one. I'm going to say it's going to be about 34 to... Actually, no, I'm going to go 31-27.
31-27 Packers victory. We both had close games, which is respectable when we have different victors. But the final game of the week, probably the most exciting and the most anticipated. Two of the best teams in the league, Chiefs versus Ravens.
This is the game of the year, probably.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with that. Probably the game of the year. Mahomes versus Lamar. Defense versus defense. It's just the talent on both of these teams is it's just astronomical, and being able to see offensive power like the Chiefs and the Ravens, we didn't see it last week for the Chiefs, but nonetheless, it's a lot of fun to watch, and that's why I honestly think that this NFL season has been one of the most entertaining we've had in a long time.
Yeah. So this one will take a little bit longer because it's such a big matchup. So who do you think has more at stake to win this game? Like, who do you think has more at stake?
I think the Chiefs do. Based solely, that would probably be an even question if the Chiefs had blown out the Chargers last week. But since they let the Chargers take them to overtime and they only had a 3-point victory, I think there's a lot more at stake, because if they lose this game by a ton, what are they going to start saying about the Chiefs? Well, I think they want to avoid that at all costs. If the Ravens lose, people will go, okay, it's the Chiefs. They have Tyreek Hill. They have Edwards-Helaire, who's been great through. Well, not last week, but he was great week one. They have Patrick Mahomes, who's previous MVP. I don't think that'll be the same conversation the other way around.
Yeah, if they lose, I feel like we're going to have people that are going to say, oh, Lamar still can't beat big teams if they lose. But I think, honestly, the Ravens have to win this game more than the Chiefs do, because if the Ravens lose, then we don't look at them as the top dog in the AFC, so we still look as the Chiefs are. If the Ravens go in and win this game, Lamar finally gets his respect that he deserves, and we see them as now the complete team. It's just then, and honestly, the Ravens are built, they could easily win at least 14 games again. Like, they could easily win, they could easily go 15-1.
I agree. With the power, with the offensive power they have, Mark Andrews at tight end, he's a great tight end option. Probably with Brown. I mean, all these big names that Lamar has to throw to, and he's one of the most explosive running quarterbacks on the field. I mean, they're just such a great team. It's scary as an AFC North fan that's not a fan of the Ravens.
Honestly, me neither. No one is. Honestly, I feel their defense is even better than previous years. I mean, all they did was get better on defense. And they added Calais Campbell, and they added Derek Wolfe, and they added Patrick Queen in the draft at linebacker. Now, this defense does not get enough credit, because they are first in the league right now in defense. They gave up 6 points in week 1, and I believe they gave up 16 in week 2. So they're a very good team that forces a lot of turnovers. I mean, Clay's, they're a 3-4, so they're more of a run defense than a pass defense. But I mean, Marlon Humphrey and Marcus Peters are their two corners. I mean, they have the defensive secondary to contain teams. They have the defensive front to stop teams. I mean, and they have John Harbaugh, who's one of the best coaches in football. So, this team is built for a Super Bowl.
Yeah, that brings up another good point. Do the Chiefs need to have a good running game against the Ravens to succeed? I personally think no. I think they can get it done with Patrick Mahomes. Not easily, but he could throw 5 or 6 touchdowns in this game if everything worked in his favor. But I think getting Edwards-Helaire involved will help them succeed more in this game than just relying on the fly ball, the passing game. I mean, but solely I think this game depends on Mahomes' ability to adapt and the Chiefs' defensive preparations for Lamar, because if those two are out of sync, not out of sync, but if one of those two aren't on, I just don't see them winning this game. Defense not playing well. I see the Ravens tearing them apart. Mahomes isn't playing well. I think the Ravens offense tears them to shreds. Even if the defense plays well, it'll be a low scoring game. I think maybe you can call it too early for me, but I think last week just scared me a lot in terms of the Chiefs' ability to go back and back to back.
Yeah. One thing that the Chiefs should use their advantage is against the Browns week 1. The Browns barely ran the ball. They only ran it 23 times, but they had 132 yards rushing. So that's almost 6. That's pretty much 6 yards per carry running the ball. So, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire has done very good so far this season, and I think he's going to get a lot more carries than usual. So if the Chiefs stick more to the run game in this game, I think they're going to have a lot more success than they will passing.
Yeah, I hope Edwards-Helaire keeps performing at the pace that he was week 1, because I enjoy watching rookies succeed, especially when they're on my fantasy team. Mm-hmm. But onto the prediction, I'm going to go a little more in depth, and I'm going to say that the Chiefs struggle early, and this will be a comeback win for them. High scoring, 34-31, Chiefs victory. Go ahead and make your point.
4 out of the last 5 games that the Chiefs have played, including the playoffs last year, have been come from behind victories.
I think it's probably just in Mahomes' blood at this point. I think they struggle in the first half, and then it'll be a halftime comeback, probably 14 points or something like that.
I am thinking that I do think that the Ravens will jump out to a lead. I say they get up to 14-0 at one point. The Chiefs start to come back, but the difference in my opinion, will be the kickers in this game, because it's Justin Tucker and Harrison Butker are 2 very good kickers, and I think Justin Tucker hits 2 important field goals in this game late to help them win, and I'm going to go with the Ravens win this one 34-28.
Well, Justin Tucker doesn't miss, so that is a very fair point. But those are all of our games for the week. Any final notes from you, Joe, before we move on to the closing?
Watch out for the Raiders, 2-0. They're going to Foxborough this week. I don't think they win, but if they win, they're already 3-0, and they're starting to look better and better, especially Derek Carr.
Mm-hmm. Josh Jacobs doing well at running back. I think he even picked up an injury in week 2, but I'm pretty sure he's playing this week as well. Darren Waller looked excellent at the tight end position for. Yeah, I mean, they have great offensive power, and I like you were about to say, Darren Waller he's been outstanding.
Yeah, he's very underrated. If you don't know who Darren Waller is, I very much think you should watch a Raiders game. The Las Vegas Raiders, by the way, now as they're called. He's definitely
too much moving around.
Yeah,
too many name changes.
That was awesome, but I mean, it'd look better if it was fans. I mean, I'll go when I go to Vegas eventually for their 21st birthday. But I mean,
Yeah, I'm sure it's a great experience, and especially, I mean, Vegas they got a hockey team and a football team within 3 years. That's an awesome experience for hometown Vegas people and tourism. Not like they didn't already have enough tourism. But that's all we have for you guys today. Check out the Thursday night football game tonight. The stunning matchup between the Miami Dolphins and Jacksonville Jaguars should be a good one. We'll see.
Should be fun to just have on in the distance.
Yes, should be good background.
Good background.
All righty. Thank you for joining me, Joe. It's been a pleasure. It's nice to be back talking with people on the podcast.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us as well. If you enjoyed the podcast, please share with your friends. Spread the news. Best podcast out there. Usually based out of Athens, Ohio, but we're distant right now. Aren't we, Joe?
Yep. Follow us on Twitter.
Follow us on Twitter at SportsBreakOhio. Thank you for joining us, and please don't forget to take a sports break. Have a good day, everybody.